This talk tonight is on the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. So Dan and I are tag teaming this one. And I have the corporal works of mercy. So what are they and where do they come from, kind of thing. So there's 7 corporal works of mercy, and they are feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, shelter the homeless, visit the sick, visit the imprisoned, bury the dead, and give alms to the poor. So those are the 7 corporal works of mercy, and then there's also 7 spiritual ones to go with that Dan will be covering. So where do they come from? So the corporal works of mercy are found in the teachings of Jesus. So in Jesus and his ministry, he demonstrated and told us of these works. The passage that I find that is most moving to me, kind of thing, where it shows like what these works are and the rewards and consequences for doing them, is the judgment of nations. This one is when Jesus talks about, and he's like, when you see somebody who is homeless and hungry and you don't comfort them and feed them, then you are doing that same to me, kind of thing. So that's showing that Jesus is kind of in disguise as that person, and that he's linked to everyone. So by feeding that person, you're helping Jesus. By giving him a blanket, you are helping Jesus. All right? And that goes as well with the imprisoned, comforting the people that have lost loved ones. You are being the face of Jesus to them, and they're being the face of Jesus to you. It helps keep you humble, and it helps keep us appreciating the gifts that God has given us. Because God has blessed you with, say, an extra coat. So you can bless somebody else with that extra coat that you have. So the reward that we get for doing these corporal works of mercy is greater than anything. It is, we get to go to heaven, kind of thing. By doing these works, we get to do that. So there's this lovely passage in the Bible where it goes, faith without works is dead faith. So these works side, faith takes work. All right, getting to heaven takes work. You can't just go through the routine, going to Sunday once a week, and then it ends on Sunday. All right, it means taking that with you throughout your life, going throughout it. When you see somebody, you be Christ in them. When you see somebody who's sitting alone, say hi to them, welcome them. When you see somebody who's on the corner when you're driving past in your car and they have a sign, lost job, will do anything for food, kind of thing. Help them out. It puts us out of our comfort zone. So I'm the youth minister here. I deal a lot with youth and and I hear so much stuff from them about why they are nervous about doing these things, why they don't do them. And it is because they're nervous. They're uncomfortable talking to people that are strangers. They're uncomfortable approaching people. So how do you do that? How do you start that? I mean, you don't just magically become Mother Teresa and start living and bringing in homeless people into your home. You're not Mother Teresa. She's a blessed saint, but God's calling you to be you. So what can you help out with in your way? So ways to break into these corporal works of mercy. If there's somebody that's hungry and is on the side of the road with a sign asking for food, and you feel uncomfortable giving them money, per se, get a McDonald's gift card, $5 McDonald's gift card, so that they can use that to get food. You know, that some people are very, like, my future mother-in-law was like, never give people money on the street because they'll use it for drugs. And I'm like, well, that's a bit harsh. So there's a solution for every mentality. So if you give them a gift card, they're using that gift card only at McDonald's. So you're giving food to the sick, all right? Give drink to the thirsty. that's doing water drives, like the thing that we have going on right now. Say you're involved in coaching a sports team kind of thing, or your kid or grandkids in a sports team. Start up a water drive, help have the kids come together and do a common cause. With the crisis in Flint with the water, that was a better time than ever, or there's no better time than now to be doing that. Visiting the sick. So, a lot of kids that I've talked to when I was growing up not too long ago and still growing up, it was very awkward going to senior homes and like starting to talk to people at first. After I started doing it, we started having like a youth group bingo night kind of thing with them. Where we were able to just talk and have them talk. A lot of these people are dropped off and forgotten about, or feel forgotten about by their families. And just to have faces come in and listen is more than a blessing. For visiting the imprisoned, so what better way to be Christ to someone than reaching out to somebody who might have fallen away? It's a great time to spread that message. So if you're looking for a way to break into that gift, parishes have prison ministries where they go out, they talk, they listen to the imprisoned and try to bring them back to Christ, or see where, if they learn from their experience and they're looking for Christ, to be able to give them that advice to get going, kind of thing. Another great way that I saw for visiting the sick was donating blood. This one was listed on the diocese things as ways to get involved in this work of mercy. And I'm like, I never thought about it that way. So I've been helping and doing this work of mercy by giving what I have a bountiful supply of occasionally, and been doing that without knowing. So intentionally giving blood and making it a priority to find a blood drive when it's coming around. And then for burying the dead, that involves so much stuff, like comforting the ones that are mourning. They're going through a hard time, but because they're going through the loss of a loved one, they're missing their presence. I went through the loss of my father about 3 years ago, and it was a very hard time, but the people that were surrounding me were so full of Christ. They were comforting, and after seeing that, it allowed me to go out to people that I knew who were losing loved ones and comfort them, make them food, bring them the hope kind of thing, pray with them, just continually going about that. And if you're not the social, aspect, if social activity is not really your gift, then there's always helping out with like funeral brunch-ins kind of thing, helping out behind the scenes to make those experiences go on. There's so many aspects where you can fit in, but it's a corporal work, so you gotta work for it kind of thing. It doesn't just come to you. And finally, give alms to the poor. I referenced my future mother-in-law, and she, after looking at her previous experiences kind of things, I get what's somebody in that mentality, but it's not judging those people for the state that they're in. When we do our street ministry, I take the kids down to the Flint North End Soup Kitchen. Before we go down, I say, it's not up to us to judge who they are, what they smell like, or what they look like. It's up to us to be Jesus to them, to reflect God's light to them. Which brings me to the final conclusion kind of thing of these corporal works. These corporal works are a way for us to shine Jesus' light on other people, to shine it in dark places. I heard this story when I was a kid, and it stuck with me, and I never really fully understood it until I started praying about it. But there was this one guy who, he lived on a poor island. It was back in World War II where they were fighting, and he was a little kid. He found a little shattered mirror of a motorcycle, and over the years he ground it out into a fine circle kind of thing, no bigger than a quarter. And like as he was growing up, he'd just like shine the light, kind of like you do with a watch when you're a kid, and trying to blind your brother and sister kind of thing, or classmates. And he'd be doing that, and then he'd make a little game of like, where can I shine this light into like weird, abstract, dark places, like under my bed or stuff like that. When you started to have a revelation kind of thing, an epiphany, like maybe that's the purpose of life. Where can we shine? We're mirrors for Christ. So where can we shine Christ's light into these dark areas? Whether it be to somebody who has lost hope because they're hungry, in prison, sick. Where can we reflect these corporal works of mercy into these dark areas? And that is it for the corporal side. So I will be turning it over to Dan for the spiritual side of the works of mercy.
So, spiritual works of mercy. The spiritual works of mercy have long been a part of our Christian tradition, appearing in the works of theologians and spiritual writers throughout history. Just as Jesus attended to the spiritual well-being of those he ministered to, these spiritual works of mercy guide us to help our neighbor in their spiritual needs. That's a quote out of the United States Catechism. And then Pope Francis helps us understand this spiritual works of mercy in his remarks. He had said that Jesus' attitude is striking. We do not hear the words of scorn. We do not hear the words of condemnation, but only words of love, of mercy, which are an invitation to conversation. Neither do I condemn you. Go and do not sin again. So as Kyle said, there's 7 corporal works. There's 7 spiritual works. 7 spiritual works are consoling the doubtful, instructing the ignorant, admonishing the sinner, forgiving injuries and bearing wrongs, comforting the sorrowful, and praying for the living and dead. So I'm going to go back to counseling the doubtful. We all have people that we know that are doubting their faith. So it's our job to counsel them, to remind them about God's love, and to turn back to their faith, that it's easy. Just start going back to church and start to pray. There's many small steps that they can do to start to comfort the doubtful. And start doing the ignorant, those who just, they don't realize the teachings. So if we see that they are having issues, we help correct them in a loving way. Also for parents, it's teaching children, grandchildren, because they're learning from us. And then we have comforting the sorrowful and praying for the living and the dead. So obviously those who are need comforting, who are dealing with grief, even if we're not sure of the right words to say, our presence can make a difference. And praying for the living and dead. Prayer is one of the most powerful ways we can support others. Joining together in prayer for our living and the dead entrusts us all into God's grace. So I have 3 spiritual works left. The first one is admonishing the sinner. I wanted to focus on this one and forgiving injuries and wrongs, bearing wrongs patiently. I feel this is an area that a lot of us, I know I've struggled with it, but for admonishing the sinner, we need to let everybody understand about God's mercy. We need to let them know that the Father is always loving and always there for us. That His patience is endless. That He's always forgiving when we return with a contrite heart. when we witness injustices, selfishness, and hatred, and do not speak up, it is filled, and when we don't speak up, when we do speak up, it's filled with humility and charity. So when we see someone, and we go to help them, remember it's with charity, it's with humility, because we're sinners ourselves, and we go there not judging. Pope Francis has explained it this way: people who judge others are wrong, mistaken, and defeated, because they assume God's place. But God is the one and only judge. God has often taken his time when rendering judgment, and does not operate according to human ways or conceptions. Jesus spoke of picking the splinter out of the neighbor's eye, while failing to tend to take the plank out of your own. He who does this is obsessed with the person he wants to judge, and the splinter will not let him sleep. He who judges becomes defeated, and it ends badly, because the same measure will be used to judge him. Jesus before the Father never accuses. It is the opposite. He always defends. So the best way to help someone who is in that state of sin is to just live our lives. Be convincing through the way that we act, through the ways that we speak, so that they understand that the love and the mercy. And to help them make it back to reconciliation. Help them make it back. Even if they've been gone for 30 years, that one time turns them right back into this fold. And then the next one is forgiving injuries and bearing wrongs patiently. I think we all had that person that's wronged us. And how easy has it been to forgive them? Or have we forgiven them? I always use the example of Jesus when he's on the cross, and he's forgiven the men who put him there. We need to have that love and charity. And if we have someone that we know that when they speak, we start to roll our eyes, and we're going, oh great, they're starting this again. Instead of going there, we should at that point start to pray for them, start to have patience, and just listen. And then look at them for who they are. That they are our brothers and sisters in Christ, that they need to be comforted, and that we have to give them the forgiveness that God's given us. And the easiest way is to judge less and forgive more. When someone hurts you, pray for them and forgive them. And sometimes that forgiveness can be instantaneously. Sometimes that forgiveness can take a while. It just depends on who it is. But eventually, let that go. Because if you continue to hold on to that hatred, you continue to hold on to those hurts, it just hurts yourself. Now, can you forgive them and it still hurt? Yes. And can you forgive them and not have to work with them again? Yes. The thing is, we have to give them as the Father forgives us. And that's really what it all comes down to, is we have to remember that we are supposed to be imitators of Christ and treat everybody else like Christ would treat us, and try to attain our holiness, try to shoot for our sainthood. And that's through helping others. This evening. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. So
Thank you.
We hope it was helpful. All right. And next week, Father Dwight's on at 7 o'clock, talking about reconciliation.
Oh,
Yep. And the nice thing about that is Father Dwight will be talking about reconciliation on Friday, and then on Sunday is going to be our communal penance here. So they've moved it from during the week to Sunday. So, all right.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.